Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
Oregon is going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
Man, it feels great to be a Duck.
Give it to me, baby. My house. I'm taking it there.
Their competitors, they'll want to put the O on.
Three, got it!
We're going to compete to a standard every day.
The Oregon standard.
Rebound. Up and in. 1 point more to go.
The opportunity to play, put Oregon on your chest, should mean a great deal to you.
Unloads on one into left field, back toward the wall.
Gone.
This program is staged to compete and to win championships.
Oregon wins!
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, let's talk Oregon athletics.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome inside the Country Financial Studio. Duck Insider brought to you by On Point Community Credit Union. Hoops-filled show today. We're feeling it today. Big weekend coming up for Oregon men's and women's basketball. The fun starts tonight with a 6 o'clock start against Colorado. Pre-game with Joey Mack at 5:30. He's going to join us in about 10 minutes from a hotel room, maybe the practice facilities at Colorado. Not sure, but he's going to join us for a couple segments. We'll break down both the men's and women's team. Before that, though, I thought I'd give it a shot to give you my own preview. It's a critical game tonight in Boulder, and there's a lot at stake for both teams. Let's take a look at these Pac-12 standings first and foremost. If you look right there, Oregon sits right now in 6th at 2-1 in Pac-12 play. Overall, they're 8-6. But with some fun results tonight, if Oregon gets a win and Arizona State, Arizona, and USC get losses, Oregon can be alone in 3rd place. Now, that would be a lot of help. That would be a best-case scenario. But the good news is that at least one of those teams is guaranteed to lose ahead of them in the standings, with UCLA hosting USC in a big game on ESPN tonight. Maybe that's a second screen type of deal. Usually on Thursdays for men's basketball games, I got about 4 or 5 screens going. Phone, iPad, TV 1, TV 2. That's a second TV type of game. UCLA and USC. Obviously, on the first TV, you're going to have the Ducks, unless you're out of your mind. So we're rooting tonight for Oregon and a bunch of losses ahead of them. It's a critical game for Colorado, too, though. If you look at their net rankings last week, they were like in the 40s, in really good shape to go to the NCAA tournament, trending in the right direction. Well, that's before they went to Haas Pavilion and suffered their worst loss of the season at Cal. So, big game tonight. Historically, we all know what this contest means, right? This is a matchup that favors the home team quite a bit. Under Dana Altman, Oregon is 9-12 against Colorado. Well, 8 of those 9 wins came in Eugene. So, that tells you how difficult a place to play this is, going to Colorado. The good news is that last year was the outlier, and Oregon came up with a win at Colorado in decisive fashion, 66-51 against the Buffaloes on the road last year. First win at Colorado. That, jinx, whatever was there, it's been crushed. It doesn't exist anymore. Unfortunately, though, Colorado, they won at Matthew Knight Arena, 82-78, and then they knocked the Ducks out of the Pac-12 tournament with an 80-69 win. So I think it's time for some payback against Colorado, which is a natural transition to, well, how do the Ducks get payback? Coach Altman, you heard Coach Meninga this week on the coaches show on Tuesday night. It's time to turn up the defensive engine. That's kind of been the message from the coaching staff this week. We've seen glimpses of it all year, right? There were games where Dante had 4 steals or 4 blocks and really just took over the game. There were even glimpses in the win against the Beavers last week. The Beavs didn't score the last 3 minutes and 45 seconds of the game. And, I've been listening to Dana Altman talk about basketball for a long time now. If you listen closely, you can actually learn a lot about the game. A lot of defense is rebounding. Well, last game against the Beavers, Oregon out-rebounded Oregon State 39-21. So, and by the way, I'll add this. They out-rebounded the Beavers 39-21 with N'Faly Dante held to just 18 minutes due to foul trouble. So maybe he stays out of foul trouble tonight. That's going to be a key matching up against Tristan Da Silva, one of the best forward center players in the Pac-12. So that's a key tonight. You got to defend. And it's not just Da Silva. In fact, it's a two-man wrecking crew for Colorado. If you look at KJ Simpson, who's the reigning Pac-12 Player of the Week, the point guard for the Buffaloes, last week in their trip to the Bay Area, averaged 28 points a game, grabbed 5 boards, nearly 5 assists a game, almost 2 steals a game as well. So it's that two-man wrecking crew. Got to defend those guys. And, well, hopefully Dante can stay out of foul trouble. Will Richardson, well, maybe he can continue to play 40 minutes and be a superhero. Ryan, let me bring you in on this. I want to get your thoughts. So did you listen to the coaches show at all this week with Mike Meninga and Joey?
I did, yes.
Okay, so I want your thoughts on this. I think the energy that he brings is such a contrast to Dana Altman. When you listen to those guys talk about the team, you'd think they're in different places, and I think that's a healthy dynamic. Did you notice that as well earlier this week, that dynamic between, or the difference between those two guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there is a stark difference between the two, and I think that's really why this coaching staff works. Mike Meninga is someone who was a broadcaster before he got into coaching, and you can tell when he talks. He's someone who wants to banter around with Joey during those interviews, and you do think of Dana Altman as a little bit more of a stoic figure, and so having that balance between the two, I think really helps with this basketball team.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So we've seen Dana Altman turn it around many times, especially on the defensive end, where it turns to January, turns to February, something clicks on the defensive end. Ryan, what's it going to take for that change to occur this year in your mind?
Well, I think first and foremost, it is going to be the health of these players. I know we've been hearing it. It's been banged on the drum all season long. You got to get guys like Jermaine Kuznar, Keyshawn Barthélemy, Nate Biddle, Ethan Butler. You have to get them healthy. But I do think that there is a lot of defensive intensity from this group that has been really strong throughout the year and is only improving. We've seen it with Dana Altman teams of past where it has been a little bit of a slow start to non-conference play, but then the Ducks turn it on during conference. They turn it on during the Pac-12 tournament, and all of a sudden you find yourself in March and you're competing in round of 64s, round of 32s, Sweet 16s, Elite 8s, and you continue to make that run. I think this team is similar to some of those teams of years past that has had a little bit of a slower start to the season due to injury, but is still posed to make a push going down the stretch run of the season.
Well, in addition to getting healthy, you're seeing individual guys like, I don't know, Luke War, for example, get more deflections, be more active with their hands on the defensive end. If they can continue to get more comfortable, and then you add in those healthy players and give a little help to Will Richardson, well, I think this team will be off and running. Dana Altman pointed out this statistic. We played the audio on the show yesterday. When Will Richardson is actually not the creator offensively, but is, somebody who is a catch-and-shoot guy, well, numbers historically say that he's one of the best shooters in the Pac-12 conference. So you get some of these ball handlers back. I don't expect that to happen tonight or later this weekend against Utah. I think this is a completely different team. But this weekend is critical. They're not going to have those guys. How do they dig deep and get it done on the road? A 2-0 mountain stretch, I feel like the outlook for this season completely evolves, and there's going to be a lot more optimism in Eugene. What do you think?
I think it helps Will Richardson this season to be that sort of Superman character that can throw the team on his back, that he can be that primary ball handler, because that's a little bit of what we were missing in years past from Will Richardson, and it is evident the jump that he has made in terms of a leader and a ball handler this season. And so now once you get those extra guys in there, once you get those ball handlers like a Couisnard and a Barthélemy back into the fold for this team, well, now Will Richardson, he can play as that primary ball handler, but what he can also do is he can play off the ball, and he can have those open shots, like Dana Altman mentioned in his press conferences throughout the week, where he is a high percentage three-point shooter, especially when he's off the ball. And so when he can both handle the ball and create offense for his teammates and have offenses created for him, then I think that it's going to continue that upward trajectory that Will Richardson has experienced this year.
Yeah, versatile player, could play on and off the ball. Right now he's being asked to really conduct the show for all 40 minutes. He did it against the Beavers, 22 points, 7 boards, couple assists. Also took the ball away 2 times with 2 steals. A heroic game and led the Ducks to victory, even though the three-point shot wasn't falling. Maybe it will fall tonight. I think that'll be another key against the Buffaloes. Joey's going to join us from the road after this break. We'll get his thoughts on this matchup. We'll talk some women's basketball as well ahead of a critical trip to the desert. That's all coming up. We're coming back to the Country Financial Studio. After this, it's Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home,
hey, Joey,
make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative for 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property
I didn't say that.
Requirements which vary by state.
You said that.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it.
You said
On Point
dandy,
supports
and then I said you look
it. Oregon athletics, because student athletes do
It's a
so much
compliment.
more
I'm
than
never
bring us pride on
sarcastic.
game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game
Well,
in the
you sound
stadium,
a lot
at
better
home,
than
or
you
at
did
your
on
favorite
Tuesday.
local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union.
Yeah, we're going to go through it.
OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider.
You don't
from
want me to ask,
Learfield.
not about the medication, but just the rehab process. I want to hear about that.
This is an important message from the Mine Safety and Health Administration. Mining fatalities, accidents, and injuries are preventable. Taking a minute to approach your task safely can protect you and your fellow miners from injury and death. Staying alert and focused can keep you safe. Do it safe. Do it right. Whether buckling a seatbelt or securing equipment, these quick safety measures can prevent injuries and fatalities. Take time. Save lives. For more resources, visit MSHA.gov.
Farming is dangerous. There's dangers all around us.
We go through safety training and try and do these things to make sure accidents don't happen.
You don't want to hit a gas pipe because that's your life. The other part of it is if you hit certain things, you're liable for it.
Farm Safe
You're good for
811
2 segments,
starts
Joey?
with you. Always call
Thanks.
811 and wait for any underground lines to be marked.
Always keep safety in the back of your mind. Just stay humble.
For more information, go to farmsafe811.org.
Welcome back inside to Duck Insider in the Country Financial Studio. We have a guest on the show. He's not usually a guest. He usually hosts the show, but he's a man of a lot of responsibilities. And he's Joey Mack joining us from somewhere in Colorado. Joey, how's the hotel today? What's the vibe around the team?
Vibe's good, actually, I think. Ducks went through shoot-around a couple hours ago. I talked with Coach Altman for our pregame interview just a little bit ago, getting some of his thoughts on the keys to success. And, you know, look, it's no secret that this has been a difficult place for Oregon to play over the last, decade or so. In fact, the first win that Oregon has ever gotten in Boulder against Colorado, ironically, was last year in February. And, you know, it's been weird over the last 10 meetings. These teams are 5-5 against each other. It's really been quite the series. And I guess really it shouldn't surprise anybody that these are the 2 longest tenured head coaches in the league in Tad Boyle and Dana Altman. But every time I see that, I'm kind of like, man, that's That's wild to me that Andy Enfield's now the third longest tenured head coach in the conference. It just says something about the success that both Oregon and Colorado have had. And, it'd be nice for Coach Altman to continue to get some wins here in Boulder, because he's Oregon all time is 1-8 in this building. And the last win, of course, was in February. So different teams this year. One guy who has traditionally hurt the Ducks in a Colorado uniform is now wearing an Oregon uniform, and Keyshawn Barthelemy. That's just kind of a great example of modern college basketball. So we'll see how it goes tonight. It's going to be interesting. But wait, before you ask me anything.
Okay, please.
How was your break?
Yeah.
How was your break,
Good to
Brenner?
see you. Good to see you, friend.
It's great. Yeah, it's great to virtually see you. What'd you do? What was the highlight of the break for Brenner?
Do I look tan at all down in Southern California for a couple weeks? You jealous?
Well, webcam quality, I can't tell you. I don't know.
Well, I'm not. Or maybe I'm a little more tan than usual. But it was great. Thanks for asking. The golf game is in as good of shape as it can be for the month of January. So
What'd you shoot?
Well, I played some tough courses. I was flirting with, even par in some of them. And, you know me, I'm a head case, a bogey, then a double bogey, and then we're hooking it off the mountain. So probably in the high 70s, low 80s, but not bad. Definitely
That's
not
okay.
bad.
I would have been happy with driving the golf cart and not crashing it. That's my stick.
And you
That's
would
my
have been good at
measuring
it.
stick. Yeah, that's my measuring stick for golf. So, that tells everybody something. Apparently, this is like, let's talk about, how good Joey used to be at sports. Because on Tip-Off Tuesday, I was talking with Coach Menega about how I was the hustle player that used to, throw the occasional elbow to remind people that basketball is a physical game.
Well, you can remind me never to play with you, because I'm a very fragile athlete, and I think 30 minutes with you on the court, I don't know, my life expectancy would go down.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
that was my way. But I would never play golf with you, because I would say
I would do a lot of trash talking. That's for sure.
If we gave me a handicap of I could be double your score and win, I would still lose.
I know you would. Yeah, I take pride in that. It's one of the things I'm proudest of, actually.
How are you at mini golf?
Well, other than being against it because people think it's the same thing, I'm very good.
I'm saying it's a completely different sport.
Is it okay to bring your own putter to mini golf? What do you think about that? Okay.
Yes, it is. I
No
have
judgments?
no problem with that. No judgment whatsoever.
Okay,
That's
good.
like bringing your own bowling shoes to a bowling alley. I got no issue with that. I think I could hold my own with you in mini golf. Different
no way.
sport, but I could hold my own.
No way. We might have to test this out someday. Can I also back up and just say that you sound a lot better than you did on Tuesday with the raspy voice? It must have been I don't know, maybe you were hosting a lot of people for Christmas and New Year's and doing a lot of talking. Nope. I guess
no,
not.
I honestly have no reason why I sounded as bad as I did.
Well,
I guess it's just one of those years.
Can you take me through the rehab process? Because you sound crystal clear today.
Let's see. The rehab process. Well, I asked Terry Johns what his cold medicine cocktail is. Got some recommendations from him. I've gotten recommendations from Jerry, from Jorgie, from other broadcasters over the years. I've concocted my own cold medicine cocktail,
buffet.
I suppose. Yeah, buffet. I like buffet. That's better.
Thanks.
Yeah, because some of it's not liquid, right?
No.
And let me tell you, some of these pills, these things are huge, and I don't do well with that. I'm going to be honest with you. Tiny little allergy pill, great.
I heard from somebody today that if you use locally grown or honey or
Did Jerry Allen tell you that?
Jerry didn't tell me that. I heard it from somebody else, but
did Scott Phillips tell you that?
Scott didn't. I have more people in my life than you, Jerry, and Scott.
Well,
a couple more.
That's good for you.
Yeah.
That's progress. But yes, I do. To answer your question though, I actually drink a ton of lemon tea with like raw lemon juice in it and honey. And I do that a lot actually during basketball. Basketball season, it can be
it's a
like
lot.
your voice just isn't in shape. Like in the month of November and December, definitely I do that a lot. So I did that a lot over the last few days. The hotel is probably thinking I have a honey addiction because I've asked for honey a few times since we got here. But yeah, that's the rehab process for anybody that doesn't care.
Hey, I wanted to give you a compliment because I watched the first Tip-Off Tuesday show of the year. This past Tuesday, you brought Mike Meninga on, who's been a longtime assistant coach for Oregon, 9 years, which, by the way, he's a great interview. There are a lot of great interviews in the department. I'd say he's one of the best interviews in the department. It struck me, though, just his personality and the marriage between he and Dana Altman. I mean, he's been here for 9 years. Can you take fans into that a little bit? Their personalities are so different, but these guys have had a lot of success together. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think that's part of why it works, because he is that sort of like youthful energy. You know, that's his way, and he's always been that way. And, you know, it's funny, like Coach Altman doesn't necessarily exude that youthful energy like in press conferences and in various public appearances, but when he's at practice, he does. You know, like he kind of brings that, like, you will not see Coach Altman not clapping his hands during practice. Like it's very common, you know, during shoot around, like Coach Altman is probably one of the loudest guys, if not the loudest guy in the gym. And that's one, sometimes he would tell you that's an example that the guys probably need to talk a little bit more, but two, that's also kind of Coach Altman's way. It is interesting how, you know, the public perception is that he's this very laid back and, you know, just sort of like Midwestern gentleman, when in reality, he's one of the more competitive guys that I've ever been around. So I think that's kind of why it works. Like Coach Meninga has that public persona of being very, you know, energetic, and he is. And it shouldn't surprise people to know, I mentioned this on Tip Off Tuesday, that he actually dabbled in broadcasting before he got really into the coaching ranks. And you know, I come back to this a lot. The irony of Mike Meninga's career, he's the assistant that replaced Brian Fish when Brian Fish left to be the head coach at Montana State. Now Brian Fish is back on staff as the executive director of the men's basketball program. It's like, whoa, you know, that just tells you sometimes how small the coaching ranks can be.
I want to do another shameless plug for the Tip Off Tuesday show. I want fans to get used to tuning in on Tuesday nights. On the women's side, KG comes on with Terry, and can you take me into the dynamic between those two? Because it's rare, I think, you see a broadcaster and a coach have such chemistry. Those guys just seem like they're good friends, you know?
Well, they are. You know, Coach Graves will call Terry just randomly sometimes in the offseason, like, hey, what's going on? You know, what's up? And to be honest with you, I think that just says a lot about Coach Graves. You know, like Coach Graves just sort of is that guy with everybody. Like, you know, everybody always talks about, like, there are some people when you get asked, like, would you want to have dinner with somebody? Like, you know, everybody gets asked that question, right? Like, if you could be asked to have dinner with one person, who would it be? Well, Coach Graves, although he doesn't drink, he's the guy that I'd say, like, no, I want to have happy hour with that guy. You know what I mean? Like that's sort of the personality that he has, right? Like the age-old sports thing is, like, he seems like he's a guy you could go have a beer with, right? Like, and that kind of is Coach Graves. You know, that's how he's always been to me. I've probably told this story to you before, Jordan. I know I've said it on Duck Insider before. The very first time that I ever interviewed Coach Graves was actually when I was the sports director at KWVA, and he was getting his haircut. And we had scheduled the interview like a few days ago. He had first gotten hired, and we said, hey, we'd love to have him on. And so he goes, yeah, happy to do it. You know, it was like 6:20 on Quacksmack or something like that. And Coach Graves was getting his haircut. One, I don't know how long a haircut takes for Coach Graves. I know that was like 9 years ago, but
much longer than it takes now.
Yeah, I guess it can't take that long. But so he answers his phone while he's getting his haircut, and we go, well, Coach, do you need a minute? He goes, nah, do it right now.
Yeah.
Now, I still don't know if that made said barber angry or not, you know, because they always post like no cell phones when you go get your haircut. You know, that's kind of part of the deal. But in any case, yeah, that was the first time I ever talked with him. And I just thought, wow, that's like the best example I can ever give of the kind of guy that he is. So, yeah, they do have quite the dynamic. I won't pretend to know everything about it. You got to ask Terry that question, but they certainly have a fun, energetic dynamic, and that's just how they both are, you know? And, you know, and I will say too, like, fans, I hope that there are a lot of like longtime women's basketball fans around Oregon that recognize how lucky they are to have Terry Johns. Like, that guy's been doing this for nearly 2 decades. And there were some seasons there where it was not all that fun. And the broadcaster doesn't sound very good when the team isn't very good. We all know that. And Terry got the treat of a lifetime going to the Final Four. He still believes, like all of us, that they probably would have won the whole thing was it not for the world shutting down in March of 2020. And so, you know, Terry's a unique and special broadcaster for a lot of different reasons, a unique and special person. I hope that Duck fans recognize how good he is at his job. And there's a reason he's been doing it as one of the longest tenured in the conference.
Well, I mean, I feel lucky that, you know, as a young broadcaster myself, to be able to watch guys like Terry go about their business, how they interact with the players. Yeah, I mean, I look at you as some guy who's been in the business for a while. Terry's he's really been in it for a while, and that's somebody to learn from.
Yeah, I'm 29 years old. Terry is older than that, and he's been doing it a very long time, just like Jerry. Yeah, you and I are both very fortunate to work with the crew that we do, and I hope he's not in the studio right now. But Scott Phillips too. He's been doing this for 30 years in various capacities. I mean, it's true.
Yeah, good stuff. Joey, can you stick
Was
around?
Scott there? Did he hear that?
I think Scott, you hear that? You were given a compliment. Where is he? There he is. He heard it.
Dang.
Only buttoned up stuff here from Duck Insider.
I can hang out. Let's talk Colorado.
Yeah, I want to talk some women's basketball too. We'll take a break, come back. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear winter, Toyota's got 20 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action, and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/22.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
Dear winter, Toyota's got 20 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action, and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/22.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. He sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself.
For many military veteran caregivers, their caregiving journey starts earlier in life and lasts longer. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, Duck Insider brought to you by On Point Community Credit Union. Jordan Brenner joined by Joey Mack from the road. Well, Joey, we did a lot of dilly-dallying in the first segment. I think we got to get down to business here and talk some hoops. A critical weekend for both the men's and women's teams.
Well, first of all, I cannot believe that I never once used the joke dilly-dally with Kenny Dillingham.
A wasted opportunity.
God, I really messed that one up, didn't I?
Some people say they have no regrets. You certainly aren't that guy. You should regret that with how much you interviewed him.
I'm going to have to talk to Tim Healy, our counterpart at Arizona State, about that one. But you're right. No, this is a huge game. I heard you guys talking in the first segment, like, this is a road trip that could springboard the rest of the season, or could really hurt the rest of the season, because the net rankings are maybe is all you need to say. I mean, Oregon is 72 in the net ranking right now. Colorado is 74. Of course, Oregon has not been very good historically at Colorado. I will say that I went back and looked at this last year. It's pretty odd the amount of times that this game has been played first on the road trip. Like, it's just a scheduling oddity. Like, it seems like Colorado is always the first opponent on this road trip. I have no idea if that matters or not, but it certainly worked out that way, that Oregon has always, it seems like, played at Colorado first. I don't know if that matters or not. And Oregon is very similar to this Colorado team. I mean, I was looking at this. I mean, here, I'll show you some of the numbers. Like, first of all, it might actually be the first time all year that Oregon plays a team that is worse than them in free throw shooting, which
right.
Oregon is still, it's unbelievable. Like, Oregon's free throw rate from their opposition, they're the worst in the country, and they have been all year. Like, opposing free throw percentages are off the charts against the Ducks. Well, Colorado is the only team in the conference that is worse than Oregon shooting free throw percentage. They're at 65%. Oregon's now at 66%. They've shot it a little bit better at the line over the last couple of weeks. So that's one thing. Let's see. Colorado is 4th in the Pac-12 in adjusted offensive efficiency. The Ducks are 3rd in the Pac-12 in adjusted offensive efficiency. Oregon is 10th in the league in 3-point field goal percentage defense. Colorado is the worst in the league in 3-point field goal percentage defense. Colorado scores about 76 points per game. Ducks score about 70 points per game. But the reason I bring that up is in Colorado's wins, they have been ridiculously good scoring the basketball, and that's particularly been true at home. Now, that shouldn't shock you, right? But in the 9 wins that Colorado has, and by the way, the overall records are drastically similar. Colorado's 9-6, Oregon is 8-6, 84 points per game in wins, 65 points per game in losses. I mean, look, that's not rocket science, right? Like, you score points, you win games. But the Ducks have a couple statistics from the scoring perspective that are also just like night and day. From 3-point range, Oregon is shooting 35% when they win. The Ducks are shooting 23% from beyond the arc when they lose. Sometimes it is that simple.
Well, that's why that Oregon State win last game was so surprising, because the Beavers shoot 50% from 3 and Oregon shoots in the 20s from 3, and yet they grind it out. And that's because I think they did better at the details of the game, on the glass, locking them down the stretch. And you know, we go through this every year, it seems like. That next gear for Oregon men's basketball, when they take that next step, oftentimes it is on the glass. It is when they start defending better. Is that gear there somewhere this year? What do you think?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I think all of us look at it and go, Oregon probably could rebound a little bit better, but the statistics are actually not too bad. Excuse me, in that category. Oregon is plus 7.0 in rebounding margin. That's the 3rd best in the Pac-12, but it's the 27th best nationally. The Ducks are 216-30 under Coach Altman when they out-rebound their opponent, but this year they're only 8-3 when they out-rebound their opponent. I mean, traditionally, they've won 90% of their games under Coach Altman when they out-rebound their opponent. This year, they're a little below that clip with that 8-3 mark. And so I don't know that rebounding actually is the key statistic for this team. I think that rebounding's actually been pretty good. For me, it's the turnover margin. Oregon's about -2 in turnover margin this season, and that's one of the worst in the entire country. They're 299th in turnover margin this year. Ducks are 183-60 under Coach Altman when they commit fewer turnovers than their opponent. They're only 1-0 this season. Listen to that. They've only committed fewer turnovers than their opponent to a clip of a 1-0 record this season.
Yeah, that's part of having pretty much one healthy, trustworthy ball handler. Hopefully that changes in the near future. Probably not going to happen, though, this weekend. So,
well, we'll see. I mean, I never want to count anybody out, because Coach Altman said to me ahead of the Oregon State game that those guys hadn't been practicing a whole lot. Well, we've had now about a week since that game was played. So I don't want to count anything out. But we'll see as the game comes upon us. But I do want to say, like, because you're right with the turnover margins. I mean, Keyshawn Bartholomew is another good ball handler. They call him Rocket for a reason. That's his nickname on the team. They call him Rocket for a reason. And his energy off the bench, that's what Coach Altman wanted heading into the season. Now, that being said, Jermaine Couisnard's been a great ball handler in the SEC. He is a double-digit scoring kind of guy. Yeah. He's a tough defender. I mean, that's what he brings to the table. And so, yeah, I mean, no doubt, getting those guys back makes a huge difference because Will Richardson really is the only ball handler. Now, Brennan Rigsby's gotten better. Coach Altman actually said this on the pregame interview, so I'm getting ahead of it for those of you that are going to listen to the pregame show tonight. But Coach Altman said, like, Brennan Rigsby's getting better, but he's still just not quite at this level of being a ball handler because he's coming from the junior college ranks. You know, the defensive pressure, particularly around midcourt, and particularly from a team like Colorado, may be a big factor in tonight's game. But Oregon has committed more turnovers than their opponent in 12 of 14 games this season. I mean, that number has to go down. You just can't give, especially on the road, you just cannot give the opposing team extra possessions. And that's what the Ducks have done. Now, they've kind of made up for it with second chance points. They've had 19 or more second chance points in back-to-back games. But what that also means is Oregon's missing a lot of their first shots. So I think shots are going to have to go in, and I think the turnovers are going to have to be cut down. And certainly we'll see. I don't know. We'll see on this road trip if guys are able to get healthier and healthier. I will say that Couisnard and Bartholomew, Biddle, Butler, they're all on the trip. But if they're in the official book tonight, we'll find out. But they are all on the trip, though I should tell fans, like, that hasn't been abnormal. Those guys have been on the trips when they haven't played, even when they've been banged up over the last few weeks. But getting those guys back certainly would help moving forward. And so regardless of player availability in these games this weekend, I mean, Utah's in first place in the league right now, which is surprising to a lot of people, including me. Colorado's 1-3. And again, the statistical numbers, the net rankings, all these things tell you that this is a game that Oregon maybe needs to win to sort of stay afloat in the conversation to get into the NCAA tournament. And the fact that they're still in that conversation with home losses to teams like Utah Valley, which is a pretty good team, and UC Irvine, which has proven to be a pretty good team. You know, those are two losses that are black eyes for Oregon's resume right now. This would be a huge win. There's no doubt about it. Now, we're talking about resumes in January because Oregon, I think, is squarely on the bubble. You'd like to win a few games and be inside the bubble with some big games coming up against the Arizona schools at home.
I want to pick your brain about women's basketball. Just one question before you go. Similarly, a critical road trip down in the desert. Now, you've made the trip down to the desert. It's never an easy place to play. Oregon goes 0-2 down there last year, but a chance for this team to pick up a signature win that I think they lack at this point in the season. How do they do that this weekend?
Well, player availability is certainly going to be a thing. It would be nice if Elise Hurst is fully ready to go. Getting Kennedy Basham back certainly gives a little bit of depth. You know, for me, I'm actually fascinated to watch the Arizona State game because I have not watched Arizona State women's basketball since Charlie Turner-Thorne has not been the head coach. So I'm actually just really interested to watch the matchup because Arizona State ran a very unique defense. That's a nice way to put it, right? They ran a very unique defense. And so I think that that's going to be, just from a basketball fan's perspective, I'm interested to see how that goes. Now, that being said, I feel like this is a trip where Oregon's going to have to figure out a way to sort of capture some of that road energy, because Kelly Graves even said it when he talked with Terry on Tip Off Tuesday. Like, they don't like Oregon very much. They don't like Kelly Graves very much in Tucson.
No.
And so I think that if they can capture a little bit of that road energy, you know, sometimes it goes that way. If you get it going on the road and you're kind of, you know, playing the enemy, that can be a fun position to be in a top 25 kind of game. Oregon, Arizona have played some classics over the last few years. And I would expect this one to be the same. How they do it, though, I do think that you're going to need some contributions throughout the roster. It can't just be like it was against Oregon State, for example, where it's the India Rogers show. You know, it can't just be the Tahina Pow show. It can't just be the Grace Van Sluten show. I think that these are teams that going on the road, the Ducks are going to need some depth in their scoring and contributions. And I hate to say it, but also staying out of foul trouble. That's going to be a big deal for this team in every game because they're shorthanded.
Yeah, for both the women and the men tonight. Joey, thanks for spending some time. 5:30, listen to Joey on the pregame show, 6 o'clock for the call. Joey, get some tea, and looking forward to syncing you up with the TV later.
Thank you. Thanks for filling in. Hopefully my voice doesn't give out by halftime.
Yeah, let's hope. I think you're going to be in good shape. Thanks, buddy. We'll take a break. We'll come back. More women's basketball. We'll hear from some student athletes after this break on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
This is Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
To protect his home and family from disaster, Steve used courage, wisdom, and his camera phone.
That should do it.
Way to go, Steve! By simply taking digital pictures of his family's important documents, Steve can always have them stored safely online, no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. Being a veteran, it's interwoven into your DNA, is really the absence of the connection and the purpose that can really drive a lot of veterans to some negative thoughts. For those who are in a suicidal crisis, the window of time to save somebody's life is very short. Our duty is to protect ourselves and protect our families, and one way you can do that is store your weapons safely. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Welcome to the Slocum Center Minute. Slocum Center physicians are located here in Eugene and are the official orthopedic team physicians for your beloved Oregon Ducks. With me today, I have Dr. Brian Jewett, who specializes in joint replacement of the hip and knee at Slocum Center for Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Dr. Jewett, advancements in orthopedic surgery continue for both athletes and non-athletes. Can you share some recent advancements for hip and knee replacement?
Well, Jerry, that's a great question. When you look over the past decade in hip and knee replacement surgery, our implants have certainly come a long way. They're stronger, they're more durable, and they're tougher right out of the box. When you combine that with less traumatic surgery, like the direct anterior approach in hip surgery, with our better pain management techniques that we've developed over the last few years, our patients are moving sooner after surgery, they're recovering faster with less pain than ever before. So, with stronger implants, better surgery, and improved pain management techniques, it's been possible now for patients to go home sooner after surgery. They're walking sooner, and they're able to leave the hospital sooner. And this trend has really led to the development of outpatient total joint surgery centers across America.
I'm hearing about same-day joint replacement surgery, and really, that is mystifying. Dr. Jewett, talk about that.
Well, what's interesting is that most patients who need a hip and knee replacement surgery are actually not sick. They're actually healthy and active, but they have a limiting lifestyle problem with their joint. So a lot of our patients do not need a hospital, and that's why outpatient joint surgery centers have been growing in the last 3 to 4 years across our country. Here at Slocum, our renewed joint replacement center was developed to provide our patients with a very personal surgical experience in a single specialty orthopedic center that is focused on the best possible outcomes for our hip and knee replacement patients. We have a team of specialized surgeons, specialized anesthesiologists, and nurses who are absolutely dedicated to providing the highest quality joint replacement patient care in a very personal environment. And using the techniques we just talked about, getting our patients up, moving sooner, they're able to go home the same day or the day after their hip or knee replacement surgery here at Renew at Slocum. And I encourage all of your listeners, if they want to learn more about our Renew program here at Slocum, to log on to our website, slocumcenter.com, and explore our information available.
It's obviously a profession, but for you, and I can tell for a lot of doctors, it's more than just a job. It's something, call it a labor of love, helping people, huh?
Absolutely. We just strive to continue to improve what we do to bring to bear the greatest and latest technology for our patients.
Thank you for what you do.
You're welcome. Thank you.
This was the Slocum Center Minute, brought to you by Slocum Center for Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, the official orthopedic sports medicine team physicians for University of Oregon Athletics since 1967.
Good to learn a little bit about joint replacement on the Slocum Center Minute with Jerry. All right, let's transition over to women's basketball. This week's women's sports schedule spotlight brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Down to the desert. Friday at 5 against Arizona State. Number 15 Arizona. Should be a great game. We've seen some classics between those two teams. 4 o'clock on Sunday. Terry Johns on the call for both of those big basketball games. Let's, though, throw it back to the USC win, 73-45, a bounce-back win. And let's hear from Taya Hansen. Turning into a storyline this season, her thoughts after the bounce-back win against the Trojans.
What's your anticipation level for heading back to a very familiar place?
Yeah, that was home for 4 years, but I'm wearing new colors now, so it's going to be a fun environment. I'm looking forward to just seeing some of my old teammates because those were bonds that were really, really special. But I'm ready to take it to them. We're not going to mess around, and it's just going to be a fun weekend, and hopefully escape some of the rain.
Have you been texting or chatting with any of them this week?
I have. Yeah, I'll plan to meet up with them, get coffee or ice cream at some point.
Any trash talk, or is it just all kind of fun at this point?
Oh, it's all love. I mean, of course, there'll be some trash talk for sure, but it's underlining love. It's not that serious.
Did you talk to India about what it's like going against the former school? She just did that a couple days ago, but obviously last year as well, kind of what that experience is like?
Yeah, I haven't talked with her, but we all talk about it in the locker room, and we just kind of rallied around her, because that is her old school. So it's we do this for each other. And I mean, Kelly just said it. He's like, this one's for Ken and Tay. So I have my teammates to have my back in that, and it'll just be a fun team win. And, I mean, we're planning to win. So.
Going back to early in the fall, when you first got here, the coach was talking about how one of the things you're going to bring here is the toughness that obviously was emblematic of when you were at ASU. They are still very much that way, and so is Arizona. Mm-hmm. One of the things that has been true about this program before you even got here was that they were softer, that if you wanted to beat them, you wanted to beat them up. How have you helped make this team a little bit tougher, and do you think you guys are tough enough to handle a weekend where these two teams just want to beat you?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, we've proven that we can be a tough team, and I think that's changed this year. I mean, we're best when we're just pressuring, getting in passing lanes. I mean, our offense drives off of our tough defense. So that's not a concern for us. We've handled pressure before, we've handled toughness, and I think we know how to combat that with our own athleticism and grit. So it'll be a good test for sure, but we're ready for it.
You didn't play with Skinner, but what have you seen from her on tape that makes her that good for them?
Yeah, she's aggressive guard, hits shots, gets to the rim. So, we're dialed in. We're going to be ready, and yeah, we're going to be ready for anything.
How do you explain your three-point percentage improvement this year? 15 percentage points up from last year, 10 percentage from a couple years ago. This was your previous career high. What's been the difference?
It's been, 10 10 years in the making. Like, it doesn't just happen bang over a year. And I mean, my goal is to improve that shooting percentage each year, and that's hours in the gym. It's more of a mental shift now. Like last game, I just came in like dialed in, ready to shoot every time I caught the ball. And so when I go in with that mentality and confidence, I know the reps that I put in here are going to pay off. And I think that's what has added to the percentage increase.
That is also just your roles being different. And so much of it now is catch and shoot, maybe more open looks, as opposed to over there where maybe you were initiating more, maybe more difficult looks.
Both roles have been similar. Like, I am a shooter here, but I also like am shooting pull-ups, and I get to the rim, I'm running in transition. And over there, my role went from like strictly a shooter, like my freshman, sophomore year, to then junior year was I was able to like put the ball on the ground a little bit more, and then senior year be a 3-level scorer, and that's why Kelly recruited me here, because he saw that I can be a threat from all levels. But like the 3-point line is my specialty.
Building off of that, just what way do you feel like in your game that you've grown the most since you've come from Tempe to Eugene?
Yeah, we play a very fluid motion here. Everyone's going to get touches on the ball and have to create and score in different levels. So I think my game has grown to like be able to score within the arc as well, instead of just beyond. But yeah, coming off of ball screens, that was something that we didn't do at Arizona State. Like, that was just not within our offense. And so now I'm like using ball screens, having to make reads and dump to the post or like see the weak side. And I feel like my basketball IQ has grown tremendously that way.
And building off of that, you had one of your best games, like last game. How does that feel, like going into your old stomping grounds, like coming off a really great game? How does that help your confidence?
Oh, huge. My shot's feeling good right now, and I want to keep it that way. And so that was just a huge confidence booster just going into this weekend, where I know there's going to be more emotion for sure, and that's natural. But I know my teammates have my back, and we're just going to play hard, and I'm going to control what I can control. And in the end, we'll hopefully come out victorious in that, and it'll be a fun weekend.
Good to hear from Taya Hansen there at Media Availability. We'll get to another as we wrap up the show. Kennedy Basham after this break on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, Duck fans. The official 2022 Oregon football trading cards are now available exclusively at your local Oregon Jackson's food stores. The cards feature over 100 of your favorite Duck football student athletes from the 2022 season. Each pack contains 14 cards, and 1 out of every 10 packs will contain a special edition signed card, so be sure to collect them all to complete your set. Visit Jacksons.com for store locations.
Jacksons. Let's go.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
It's time for today's STEM tip. Okay, you know recycling is important. No one wants plastic in the ocean. Here's a cool way to repurpose a plastic bottle. Build an awesome terrarium. Cut a large plastic bottle in half and fill the base with sand, pebbles, potting soil, and your favorite plant. I chose an African violet. Put the top of the bottle over your base and place it in the sun. Your plant will grow sealed in its own ecosystem. Fun, right? Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
Couple minutes left here on the show. We'll get to another interview with Kennedy Basham. One final reminder, Oregon men's basketball game tonight, 5:30 pregame. Joey on the call at 6. All right, let's get to Kennedy Basham before we end the show.
First things through the recovery process, just how tough was that? What was that like to deal with? You get your first college game and
yeah, I mean, I was obviously not what I wanted. I mean, no one wants that, especially in your first game. But I mean, I've kind of dealt with it. I had like 2 ankle surgeries before that, so I've kind of just been on a journey past. So let's just hope that's the last one. But I mean, I kind of knew like how I was gonna go into it. I've never had like a knee problem before in my life, so I was kind of just like, I've done my ankles, so I can do this. So it wasn't terrible, but I mean, it's not the outcome I wanted, but I got through it. So
how does that maybe slow you down in your first games back? Do you have to kind of feel comfortable? What's kind of that process?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even like it's just like the brace, especially. Like, I'm not used to playing with the big brace on my knee. Like, right. I've never had to do that before. So it's kind of just getting used to that, honestly. And then just kind of getting back into the swing of things. So.
How hard is that mental grind of just the weeks where you're out and just going through PT and going through rehab?
I would say mentally that's like the hardest part. Like, you have to keep a good mentality because I've been out for about like 2 years now because I had 2 surgeries back to back and now I had this. So it's just kind of like keeping a good mental state, because if you don't, then you're just going to go on a downward spiral, which I have good teammates, so they all help, and my coaches. So
do you feel comfortable sharing what the injury was?
Yeah, I had my knee.
Yeah.
It was a tear in my PCL.
Okay.
So yeah, so that was kind of it was just time, and like I said, I've never had a knee problem before, so it's kind of just like just being careful and just kind of listening to my body at this point. So.
What are you most excited about now that you're back? I mean, it must be exciting for you, but what part of it, like, did you miss the most?
Just getting out there on the court with the girls. Like, we have so much fun. Like, even just in practice, like, being able to play, it's just so much fun because we have so much fun together. Like, we all are happy for each other's success. So just, especially, like, being out on the court in, like, the last game against USC, it was just fun to be with the girls and just have fun. So.
What would you say the biggest insight you've gained spending a lot of time like on the sidelines the past couple of years is?
Yeah, I would say I've learned a lot, honestly, especially just now, even watching practices, like not even just games, but just I've learned a lot from the coaches, just sitting there, hearing what they have to say, like the girls, like making sure they keep a good attitude and just being there for them, like the girls on the bench, like if they're going through it, like I got to help them out, like just being a cheerleader and just cheering everyone else on. So yeah, and I definitely learned a lot too, so being
a young player with a bright future, and good to hear from Kennedy Basham there. A player I'm excited to see how she evolves throughout her career. Wanted to remind you what Jackson's is doing. Duck fans, be on the lookout for Oregon football trading cards coming soon exclusively to your local Oregon Jackson's food stores. Collect them all to complete your set. Visit jacksons.com for store locations. Jackson's, let's go. Great show today. Thanks to Ryan. Thanks to Scott. Thanks to Mitchell. A reminder, 6 o'clock game tonight against Colorado. Terry Johns got you on the call for the women's game against Arizona State. Tomorrow, we'll have a full breakdown of that game and the rest of the weekend for the women on tomorrow's show. You could also look forward to hearing from the head coach of the Ducks, Kelly Graves. We'll get out of here. Talk to you tomorrow. And as always, go Ducks, everybody.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWreck.com.